Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new edition of our online virtual interview series. We want to get an update of Lithium ION Energy, and Ali Haji, the CEO, is here with us. Hey, good day, Ali. How are you?
Doing very well, Jochen. Always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, always a pleasure to see you. Perfect thing, and thanks for taking the time. I know you are very busy. Before we start, I just wanted to say I'm a shareholder in the company. Yeah, just that to make sure that this is disclosed. And yeah, because I'm a big fan of lithium and of all battery metals, of course, and I think lithium ion energy is doing the right thing. You have started, this was our start with Commodity TV in Mongolia. Now you are also entering Canada. You did also the Bliss Lake acquisition. So before we come on that, maybe you can give us a short update on Mongolia. What was going on the last 6 months? What's the situation?
Of course, with Urgakh Naran in particular, which is the 29,000 hectare license in Dorngovi province, a closed basin environment, double fault bound, very typical as to what you might expect to see in the South American salars. We did some work last year, if our viewers recall, 918 milligrams on surface, 100 line kilometers showing us a significant volume of low resistivity. We've done some lithological holes that we reported grades almost 3 times higher than Albemarle Silver Peak in Nevada. And we've drilled, of course, some water wells. So we now have the samples being collected,
Mhm.
being sent to SGS in Ulaanbaatar. We will ultimately receive brine samples or brine assays, I should say shortly, and that will then allow us to dictate or reach an inferred resource calculation in due course. So we are moving
Mhm.
along there. It's very exciting. The infrastructure is fantastic, and of course, the significant potential and scale of this project is something that is very exciting for the company. So stay
Yeah.
tuned on Urgakh Naran. You should see some news flow there very shortly,
Uh-huh.
and hopefully, that helps us re-rate from an equity perspective, as well as help grow our profile and put Mongolia truly on the map as far as lithium is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could imagine Mongolia, especially Urgakh Naran, is quite close to China. So there might be for the future also a lot of synergies. I mean, they are producing e-cars like unbelievable in batteries, right? They need lithium.
Exactly right. In fact, I had the pleasure of being there not so long ago, and they actually have 50 EV manufacturers. They have more
Hmm.
EVs on the road than any other place on the planet. The air is significantly cleaner than my prior visits in 2014. So they
Hmm.
are making progress. They are consuming EVs and at a pace that rivals the rest of the world. So it's an exciting sort of neighbor to have if we were to find a deposit of significant scale.
Hmm. Super. So you had already interest exposed from some companies? Just asking. I mean, you must not answer, but I know it's a tricky
No, yeah,
question, but
I think
I
we've
could
we've
imagine.
For sure, for sure. I mean, we talked about this last year before there
Yeah.
was, a change in sentiment from the Canadian government for investment from China. We were speaking with various strategics, Chinese and otherwise, to look at potentially partnering with us in our projects in
Hmm.
Mongolia. Those conversations are now continuing. I think, China in general, as a culture, much like any other part of the world, do not like conflict. And so they shied away from the table, but they are returning to the conversation. So, yes,
Hmm.
there are various conversations afloat.
Okay, super. That's something really positive. So you said you want to bring out then a resource calculation. What would be then next afterwards? What
So you
would be
do
your plans to say like a pilot plant or could or is that too early?
we do an inferred resource calculation, which of course would not be a true representation of the entire
Mm-hmm.
basin, and so
Mm-hmm.
you would be sort of providing a discounted sum in terms of the total volume of brine. And we would then do some infill drilling that would ultimately allow us to reach measured and indicated, which would give us a true sense of the scale of the deposit. But along the way, I think the company is hoping to partner with a
Mm-hmm.
strategic that would ultimately allow us to either test our brine in their labs or look
Mm-hmm.
at putting a pilot plant in place on site. So yes, we would be looking to do both of those things, Jochen.
Hmm. Okay, super. So that sounds like a game plan, I would say. Let's come to the Bliss Lake acquisition. What's going on there? Well, why have you done that?
Well, if you look at the equity markets today and the rest of our peers that are operating in jurisdictions that have had lithium discoveries in the past,
Hmm.
LATAM, for instance, Australia, for instance, where you have lithium organizations producing lithium, the general consensus of the market and the investor base is that, this is a region that has lithium and therefore they're more excited about those stocks. For us at ION Energy, with our primary assets in Mongolia, Mongolia is a nation that we're first movers in the lithium space. I believe from an equity perspective, that gave us a bit of a discount relative to our peers,
Hmm.
despite the
Yeah.
volume and significance of our assets showing great promise. We have groups in Northwest Territories, such as Lift Power, run by Francis McDonald. We also have PMET that's out there. They have a few land packages. Gamma Lithium is a
Patriot.
new entrant.
Hmm.
Yes, Patriot Battery Metals. And
Hmm.
now we also have, Gamma Resources and various others that are operating in that province that has had drilling done as far back as the 70s for lithium. So it's a new district that's gaining a lot of traction with companies with market caps, anywhere between 300 million and a billion. Granted, Patriot's majority assets are in Quebec, but they do have assets in Northwest Territories. And Lift Power with all their assets in the Northwest Territories at a $300 million market cap, with fantastic drilling results being announced, almost on a weekly basis here.
Hmm.
It's a jurisdiction that was too good to pass up, and so we had some relationships in the Northwest Territories, and we were able to acquire two projects. So Bliss Lake being one of them, and the Little Nahanni Triangle being the second acquisition that we made this summer.
Hmm.
But Bliss Lake was acquired at a consideration of 124,000 Canadian dollars for 5,600 hectares, all in equity. So very low in terms of dilution to existing shareholders, but provides us with an opportunity to find a discovery in a district that has some very good drilling results and can also potentially be a consolidation event for some of
Hmm.
the larger players that are in the area. So at the cost of acquisition, it was purely, let's try and find another jurisdiction where we can get value at minimal dilution with the potential for a re-rate if we were to find something that ultimately leads to a consolidation or a discovery that's larger than our neighbors that are currently operating in the region as well.
Hmm. Yeah, that would help in any way, definitely. So with Bliss Lake and also Little Nahanni, what's going on there?
We've just acquired the licenses, so that
Hmm.
happened this summer. Of course, it's up, it's pretty far up north, and so snowfall starts quite quickly, if you
Hmm.
can imagine. So the outcrops ultimately become invisible; they're covered by snow. We've acquired high-res satellite imagery that we're now reviewing. We've seen some outcrops that are visible in that satellite imagery, very similar to those of our neighbors in the region. We will probably do a flow-through funding before the end of the year, at of
Hmm.
course a premium to our last private placement that was completed about a month and a half ago. And that will then be used to provide exploration work on those two assets come the spring next year. So we'll commence with some rock chip, some channel sampling, and then if we find something of interest, of course, we'll get permitted for drilling next summer as
Hmm.
well. The first step, of course, is let's meet with the First Nations in that community. Let's make sure they're comfortable
Hmm.
with our presence, and
Yeah.
we can work together to truly unearth the value of what we think would be a significant resource potential, given the prior exploration in the district, of course.
Hmm. Super. So how far are those two projects away from each other?
You've got Yellowknife is sort of
Yeah.
10 to 15 kilometers from Bliss Lake, and then
Yeah.
Lift Power is about 10 to 15 kilometers from our asset at Bliss
Hmm.
Lake, and then Little Nahanni is a bit further out, further in the east. It's close to 70 kilometers away from Yellowknife.
Yeah,
The
but that's
advantage, of
nothing for
course,
Canadian
yes,
distances.
yes. And in terms of infrastructure, there's not much there, as you
Hmm.
can imagine. There are little
Hmm.
lakes and little mountains
Hmm.
and hills. But given the majors that are operating around us, Yellowknife would ultimately be the hub. And
Hmm.
therefore, if they were to reach any sort of production capacity, the infrastructure would be laid down by these significant majors.
Hmm. Haven't they built already a road also close to Lift and Patriot battery metals? I
Yes,
think.
there are a couple of
Yeah.
access roads there, so
Yeah.
that makes things exciting for us. But of course,
Hmm.
with the results that Lyft has put out in the last couple of months here, they're finding really good grade and really wide veins, which ultimately could make that a production center for North America.
Okay, super. So next big thing is then like hopefully an off-taker by the end of the year. Yeah, let's hope for it.
Um,
That would help a lot.
I wouldn't go so far as to call it an off-taker, although that would be, in and around the correct term. I think it's more so finding a strategic
Oh,
alliance that allows us
yeah.
to better
Sorry.
de-risk the asset,
Hmm.
fund the exploration, and then ultimately allow ION Energy to have a re-rate from a premium perspective, but also a
Hmm.
carry on the project so that we can continue to profit as the project advances. Projects
Super.
advance, I should say, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sounds great. Thank you very much, Ali, for the insight. And then, yeah, let's see what happens here, and we look forward to your resource estimate for sure.
Cheers. Thank you, Jochen.
Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Ali Haji from Lithium ION Energy, and you heard it. Lithium is still a place to be, I would say. They are in Mongolia and also in Canada, and those are two fantastic jurisdictions, definitely for mining. And if they find a strategic partner, we would call it, I said, offtake partner. Maybe that's a bit too early, but let's say they find a strategic by year end. That would help the company really a lot and bring it to an absolutely new level. And also, I think the first resource estimate would also help for Urgakh Naran and show what the real potential is. So stay tuned and check out Lithium Ion Energy. I'm a shareholder already. Honestly, at those low prices, that makes really sense to have a very close look on this company. So thanks for watching us, and bye bye from Switzerland.